Well, Florida thus far today in the Swamp. It is a 30-0 lead for the Gators over Eastern Michigan. Tom Hart alongside Matt Stinchcomb. Well, if you play the numbers out for Florida's offense, you're talking about 100 plays by the end of the day and 600 yards of offense. Is that what we were promised, and have they delivered thus far?
Well, you know, we could talk about the yards and the plays. What they want is points, and they've gotten them. You know, we touched on a little bit some of the difficulties in the red zone where some of the drives have stalled out once they got inside the 20-yard line. But we've seen some explosion plays both on the ground and in the passing attack. I think that they have to be very pleased in that regard, and that they've been able to sustain a couple of drives. They've been able to convert even some fourth downs. Don't always want to be faced with those scenarios, and yet when you are and your coaching staff entrusts you to maintain possession, Florida's done a good job of being able to do that as well. Other than punching the football in, when you get to that 20-yard line and having that kind of killer mentality, I think that this offense has been exactly what they wanted it to be. A lot of shuffling on the offensive front, which might be a little bit of cause of concern with DJ Humphries going down. But otherwise, the future looked very bright based on what we saw the first two quarters of play.
DJ Humphries, the left tackle, went down. Tight end Jake McGee was lost with a leg injury. Two key components coming into the season. And injuries are one of the reasons that it was taken under consideration to cancel last week's game after the weather, lightning delays, and what turned into a soft playing surface, which was a concern to Will Muschamp, especially with the way this Florida program was snake bit by injuries last season and lost 15 players to season-ending injuries.
Seemed like it was a plenty fast enough track on a couple of runs there in the first half. Kelvin Taylor and Matt Jones able to rip off a couple of long runs. Even Brandon Powell able to get in on the action.
Brendan Rennis will kick it off for Eastern Michigan. His first kickoff today. Looks like he's got the golden boot. And Andre DeBose back to return. And no return. Heather Mitz caught up with Eastern Michigan's head coach Chris Creighton. Heather?
Yeah, Coach Creighton said he wants them to put their shoulders back and start playing with a little bit more fight. The one change we will see at half is that Brogan Roback will come in at quarterback. He's saying that he gives them more energy and more fight and has a better chance of putting some points on the board.
Thank you, Heather. That's one thing that a coach can measure in games like this, even though they are outmanned by Florida.
You know, yeah, exactly right. And that's one of those intangible qualities that any coach is seeking out of his quarterback. We spent a lot of time talking about skill set.
You just don't know how a guy is going to react until he gets in the game, and Roback was a returning starter.
You could see that when he came in the ball game, you know, it wasn't like the offense exploded, and at the same time, you can see, how the teammates react to him in the huddle.
Florida had 19 first down snaps in the first half. They threw it 15 times. See if Jeff Driscoll comes out throwing with a 30-point lead. Kelvin Taylor is the running back next to him. And this is Taylor, left side. Beautiful cutback by Taylor, and he's running over guys up to the 39. Ray Tillman finally brought him to the turf with some help from Nathan Adams.
Great job on the left side of the line. Chaz Green has slid over from his right tackle spot in place of DJ Humphries. And there was plenty wide of the spot. And you see the first down play selection. Last year, Florida only 8 pass attempts on first down an entire game. They've already doubled that.
The screen to Fullwood. He's got blocking, but could not get past Gary White.
And incidentally, you look at that stat, and these first down passes, a lot of them are just of the variety that we just saw. The ball is on one hash, and you're effectively saying, I want to run the ball, but I want to run it from the other hash. I'd rather run into 2 and 3 defenders as opposed to 8 over here in the tackle box.
Quick hitter to the tight end, needing 3 for the first down. It's Clay Burton, and it will be just short, looks like. Well, maybe got it after the spot. Amos Houston with the tackle. That is the 7th catch of the day for Clay Burton.
They really got in a groove, working the boundary side of the formation in that 2-minute drill that resulted in a field goal. And Clay Burton started to pop up in his tight end spot. And as we've mentioned, what they want to do offensively, that tight end position, and they're going to need to find another one. With Jake McGee going down over the course of the season, it'll be a long year for Clay Burton if he's alone.
4-man rush. Driscoll steps up, lobs it downfield, caught! Diving grab by Quentin Dunbar. Now they say it came out, and Dunbar is shaken up.
You see Dunbar, a free release off the line of scrimmage.
That's a catch, isn't it?
Looks a lot like a catch. Unless they're saying there at the end, you see him pull it in.
That's a catch.
He's down. That is a catch. And what they're saying is, I think what they're saying is that it looks like the ball squirted out. He's down.
After this roll, it came out.
Did he complete the catch? And it looks like he injured his shoulder. Certainly hurt his shoulder when he came down hard.
Florida took a timeout.
They're going to take another look at it.
Muschamp wanted a timeout, and they called for the official review first. He wanted them to take another look at it. And this is one of those existential questions. When is a catch not a catch? And when does he have control of the ball? And through the play, when did he have control?
That's the key component. Is you've got to complete the entire act. And you see the ball squirting out. The back judge is right there. And it's clear that as he's sliding, he's lost control of that football. What's difficult to see is, as he lays out, he's got it, and he's caught it. He's down, but had the ball already started to come out when he went down. And it's hard to tell from that angle if he completed the act of the catch.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed, incomplete pass.
Well, it was complete if we would have stopped our tape machine.
That's right. That's exactly what it was.
Right before that other roll.
And it was confirmed, meaning that you look at the video and they upheld what they saw and what was called on the field. Good job by the back judge.
Well, it was perfectly placed by Driscoll. He put Dunbar in position to grab it. On 2nd and 10, Driscoll calls his own number on the zone read. He keeps it. And that was a bit of a stumble slide for Driscoll. In 2012, Driscoll ran for better than 700 yards if you take the sacks out of the equation.
Surprisingly, in Gator history for quarterback, Jeff Driscoll has the highest grossing rushing yards of any former quarterback. It includes a Heisman Trophy winner in Tim Tebow, which is Vanderbilt in 12.
Movement on the interior. Trip Thurman back in the game.
False start, 63 offense, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Sometimes when you're down and you're looking at this, the defenders will start approaching the line of scrimmage, would-be blitzers. You see him right here. It's going to be Trip Thurman. You can see right there from off the edge, Pudge Cotton coming up from his safety spot. It was just enough to trigger that movement.
Blitz coming. Driscoll gets rid of it. Beautiful move by Robinson. He hangs a U-turn, and that's enough for 1st down yardage. Great eBay finally brought him down. Gain of 11.
Covered down by Great eBay, but you can see what they love about DeMarcus Robinson. He could see, he thought about going inside. That's where all the pursuit was coming from. Work that spin movement, get right back outside where he had some running room, was able to pick up even more yardage.
3rd catch for Robinson. Driscoll rolls the pocket, and that one's complete to Fullwood for 5. Willie Creer has been busy in the defensive backfield for Eastern, and Fullwood makes his way off the field.
You can see now some of the depth. Maybe not the coaches wanting it for this reason, with Fullwood coming up a little bit gimpy. Andre DeBose rotating in quickly in his split end position.
To Taylor. Nowhere to go. Mike Steele was there.
The 21, Kelvin Taylor.
That one clearly designed to capture the edge. There was nowhere to go. Sometimes you just have to lower your head and get what you can. Great job on the backside pursuit by Mike Steele, who almost had an interception there at the end of the second quarter. Good job in his backside pursuit.
Florida has converted 8 third downs in 14 attempts. Four-man rush to the hash mark and complete for a first down to DeMarcus Robinson. Driscoll was able to look off Matt Jones and find Robinson in front of the sticks.
Worked the progression nicely. You could see him checking the flats for Matt Jones, but had time enough to come back to Robinson, find a soft spot in the quarter's coverage, and pick up the first.
Driscoll has already thrown it 39 times. Pressure coming. Backpedaling. Still got it away and complete to Robinson again. Another Florida first down.
Well, you could see there, Brad McCaslin, he decided to bring the house from the right side of the formation. Jones able to get just enough to buy Driscoll time to unload this football, and a well-thrown one at that. Robinson able to jump up in the air, nice body control, to make the completion.
Pressure coming again to the end zone, incomplete. DeMarcus Robinson had 5 catches all of last season. He has 5 for 53 today.
Timing of that play was a little bit off from the get-go, it looked like. You see Driscoll almost begging for the football. Was a little bit late, that ball coming out.
I think that's the first time Chris Thompson has been targeted today. 2nd and goal. This is the one thing you said that they need to take advantage of. Red zone scoring. Specifically getting 6 instead of 3. And that'll set up 3rd and goal inside the 5 after the carry by Matt Jones.
We saw 3 field goals, which again, you want points. This Florida offense a season ago would have been thrilled to get that. There was a rushing touchdown by Brandon Powell. Otherwise, they found a way to work their way to 4th down and in a field goal situation. The challenge is, of course, it's a much condensed area to play in. If you're trying to spread the field, it's easier to do that. You get in the 20 and in, there's not as much field to defend. The spacing gets constricted.
Driscoll flips it out of the backfield to Jones, and he is in for the 2nd time today.
You gotta like what you see out of Matt Jones. He's taken one to the house. He's sold out in protection, and he shows his hands and ability to get the ball upfield as a receiver out of the backfield. That's a big body that can be a weapon in this offense.
Velez adds the extra point. And Florida's able to cash in on the 3rd and goal. Touchdown pass for Driscoll. His first this year. 2nd score for Jones. Restaurant built in 1915 as the residence of a Florida professor. And it has grown with time.
You ate there yesterday. What'd you get? Gator toes or something?
Yeah, gator toes.
It's a speciality over there. Look crunchy.
That's where I had the GoPro on the end of your sandwich.
It's a frightening thought for the folks at home.
How do you think the sandwich feels? Austin Harden's had an up and down day kicking off for Florida. Good news for the Gators. He's had plenty of opportunities. This is Tyler Allen from the 1. He is bottled up and brought down at the 15. And so Eastern Michigan will come out here in the second half, according to Chris Creighton, with Brogan Roback. 13 plays, 75-yard scoring drive, 5:42. In case you missed it, video of that last touchdown is now posted on the SportsCenter app, available on your mobile devices and tablets whenever you need it.
You see there, Jeff Driscoll. I don't know, he might be done for the day. There's a decent chance that they go on and shut him down. Pretty sporty day on his part too. He's already had 42 pass attempts. Only 1 touchdown toss, but they've been able to stretch the defense.
Rollback handles the high snap, and nothing doing on the end around. We got a flag on the play as well. You know, there's something somewhat unique about the way Campbell Allison snaps the ball in the shotgun.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it done the way he does it very often, holding the point of the ball that way. And we've mentioned a couple of times where quarterbacks had a hard time fielding it.
Personal foul, late hit number 3 on the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Antonio Morrison gets flagged again.
See
Look
the
how he's
ball?
holding it.
Look at that. I don't know. I've never seen that before. And you see it high snap. It's not working very well. I'm all for being different, but not if it's not working. You would think they might go to a more conventional, but that's the way that they seem to do it.
Rollback swings it to the outside. Kenny Jones trying to get involved in the offense. And picks up 4. Brian Poole with the tackle. You know, it's the delivery with that snap is so inconsistent. That one we just replayed was high and it was hard, but we've seen just as many that flutter back like knuckleballs.
Yeah, it's hard enough. You can imagine if a baseball could dance around. What could you do with an oblong ball like a football? It's hard to field enough as it is, much less if it's flipping back to you.
There's Bronson Hill on the right side. That'll set up 3rd and a long 2 for Eastern Michigan. Jake Hercombe was their starting center last week. Now Hercombe's back in there today. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, no gain. In fact, a loss of 1. Neron Bell was in the backfield on 3rd down.
You know, Neron Ball's had a good game, and on that one, when you're running the option, if you're a quarterback, you have to make the defender commit. That time, Ball was able to play both the pitch man and the quarterback, and it resulted in a tackle for loss. Gator defenders are not going to respect Roback as a runner very much in the option.
Barnes to punt it away. DeBoe's itching to break a big one. He might have an opportunity here. That was a low line drive to the 20, to the 30, and good footwork. They'll mark him out of bounds at the 35-yard line. Florida back on offense. We'll see who's at QB when we return.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Hey, pull your front shoulder, Griff. Don't be lazy, let's go. Hey, you're trying to find the best pre-snap visual for an uncover. Does that make sense? Don't wait on it. Hit him in his face. Speed, Hunter. Run, run, to jets. That razor, you're making fast decisions. I call it in the red zone, it's press man, and you want to take a shot at touchdown? Take a shot. You with me?
That's Kurt Roper working with Jeff Driscoll in the preseason. Here's how that work has paid off today in the opening game for Florida. They punted once.
Yeah, you got to be pleased with how it's shaken out. They've gotten plenty of reps at it too. Sustained some drives. It hasn't been all quick hitters, although there were 2 one-play drives.
This is Mac Brown. And Mac Brown is past the 50. Trying to beat a man in a foot race. Tripped up and finally taken down by Ray Tillman. Kelvin Taylor, Matt Jones, and now Mac Brown with a 47-yard gain on the ground.
Great job. Left side of the offensive line, and we mentioned DJ Humphrey's no longer available. Matt Brown almost providing the Gators with their 3rd one-play scoring drive.
Run game last year for Florida produced 3.6 yards per carry. Trying to get it to Brown. Amos Houston with the hit. It wasn't just the offensive coordinator who was replaced, but also the offensive line coach coming into the season. Mike Summers, with plenty of SEC experience as a new O-line coach.
You know, we talk about chemistry on the field. It's just as important to have chemistry in the coaches' rooms. And it seems as if that's been able to get established early on the offensive side of the ball for Florida.
On 2nd and 10. Good tackle by Nathan Adams on Mack Brown. Let's go down to Heather.
On the Florida sideline, Matt Jones just had some ice put on his left quad, so we'll keep an eye on him, but it looks like he might be done for the day.
Well, still a productive day for Jones. A couple of touchdowns, one 40-yarder, one 4-yarder.
You look at it, you do start to wonder, though, coming into this game, we asked the coaching staff, anything we need to know about injuries, anybody nicked up? They said, no, not really. We're pretty healthy coming into this ball game, and would have been healthy coming into Idaho a week ago. But there have been some Gators go down already on offense.
Quick to the outside of Mack Brown. He is right short of the marker. Ray Tillman with another tackle for Eastern Michigan.
I mentioned Matt Jones earlier and his ability to, as a receiver, not just as a ball carrier. Mack Brown showing that he deserves a look and will get it. Coach Muschamp mentioned they got to roll some guys with as many snaps as they'll have on offense.
That was a 10th tackle for Tillman on 4th down. Florida trying to convert for the 3rd time and held short. Big hit by Nathan Adams to slice through and bring down Mack Brown, and so Florida turns it over on downs.
Nathan Adams coming up from his linebacking position. Just a miscommunication, completely unaccounted for inside. And as we mentioned, there's some new faces. Guys that they would have intended to play on the offensive line for Florida. But that time, clearly a miscommunication between Max Garcia. Because otherwise, you don't have a free hitter in the hole like that. Garcia moving over from his guard spot a season ago. And he's got to quarterback that offensive line. You see they're visiting with Coach. Coach is going to coach him up and tell him exactly what just happened.
Rogan Roback swings it to Brumfield, pardon me, out of the backfield.
Roback pass, late, number 22, Ryan.
Quincy Wilson in, the freshman defensive back, forces him out. We asked the defensive staff, DJ Durkin specifically, and Will Muschamp as well, how will you judge your defense against an opponent like Eastern Michigan? And their main concern was this youthful, inexperienced secondary. They got pressure on the quarterback. Said we want to make sure that our secondary has eye control. That's one of the biggest issues with young players. And we want to see how they look in man coverage. What do you think so far?
Well, you know, they haven't been challenged very much, of course. And so, you know, you look at it, could they get away with, you know, less than disciplined eye control? By eye control, they mean, are you on your assignment? Are you looking at the play action? Are you biting on the fake? Are you breaking off what otherwise should have been sound coverage?
They chase Roback again and force him into an incompletion. He ends up on his back in the end zone.
And Eastern Michigan is not equipped to pass the football. And we've seen that evidenced here. We saw that evidence last week versus an FCS team. Less than 100 yards passing. They had to fight and scratch and claw from a personnel standpoint. This coaching staff for Eastern Michigan, as much as they would like to open it up, they don't feel as if they can. This offense was built to run. And then you get lopsided games like this. It's very difficult to get that going. 7 of 16. 16 passing attempts when you're down 37 points.
Built to run like an old Big Ten offense. This is DeBose from behind the 40. DeBose looking for open field. He's got a big guy to beat. That one tough. Still dancing. DeBose to the 30. Looking for a block. He's got the block and he is out of bounds in a flag. Last week, the electricity was from the Lightning. Today, it's Andre DeBose.
The question is, how far did he have to go to cover the yardage that he did? Because I'm saying, well, we're going to say about 40 yards there sideways. You could just see what a threat Florida was missing in their return game a season ago. It looks like he's out of bounds. Right there at the tail end. He's not injured at the end. He's exhausted. That wasn't just a sprint. That was a marathon. Maybe a little bit of both.
55-yard return.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on Florida bench. Sideline interference. 15 yards from the end of the run. First down.
It's a 37-0 lead. And Will Muschamp doesn't want to see penalties, and that's something that the SEC sideline of infraction is going to pay a lot more attention to this season. But in the end, that's not the worst thing for Roper's offense. To go back and have more room. Now, what he talked to us about, it's not just the horizontal space, but the vertical space that's important to this offense.
Agreed. And, you know, and we hit it. We just saw a red zone possession. Resulted in no points. Here they are on the red zone fringe with another chance.
They had previously had a sideline warning. So that's why the penalty after the second infraction. Troy Pittman. Second and 2. Tevin Westbrook now in a tight end, and Hunter Joyer is on the field as a fullback. Kelvin Taylor has a huge hole, and he gets tackled from behind by Gary White Jr.
You mentioned Hunter Joyer. Just came in moments ago along with Tevin Westbrook. They ran right behind them. The left side of the offensive line. Nice vision by Kelvin Taylor to see that. A lot of times it looks as if the play side of the run is to the right side of their offensive formation. And Florida doing a great job at running back and seeing that backside opportunity.
Burst of speed in the backfield. Another Florida touchdown. Kelvin Taylor's second of the game.
That one, Tom, could have gone either way. Looked to me like if Jeff Driscoll pulls it, he walks in. Either way, Kelvin Taylor able to show the speed to capture the edge. Eastern Michigan had an opportunity to come up and make a play, and Taylor just outran the angle. You see him bounce that play outside almost immediately, and he's just trying to get to the pylon.
An expeditious punt return set up the score for Florida. The penalty didn't seem to hurt. And the Gators have put 44 on the board thus far.
It proved to be a pretty explosive Kentucky offense, albeit against UT Martin a week ago. UT Martin getting it handled pretty well by Minnesota today.
Will make for an interesting matchup when Florida and Kentucky meet in terms of offensive explosion and high tempo. Finally a good return after many opportunities for Tyler Allen, and we got an injured Gator on the play. It's Herndon who's banged up. Tom Hart with Matt Stinchcomb. You know, thus far today, we've seen a lot out of the Florida offense, and sometimes, as you mentioned, it can be tough to judge a defense in a game like this because they haven't been tested. So what are the coaches going to see when they finally pop that film in?
Well, I think they'll be pleased with how they, is it gap integrity? Are we aligned appropriately? They brought some edge pressure, some corner pressure from the slot. We've seen Brian Poole show up in the offensive backfield. I think Neron Ball from the edge has done an excellent job emerging as a pass rusher. And I think that will be a good foil for Dante Fowler on the other side of their defensive front. Those are all things that they're looking for. Able to generate a turnover early in the ball game, Well, that was something that Florida did not do very well a season ago, as well as they played statistically versus the run and pass. Their turnovers were way down versus 2012.
Reggie Bell back in the game at quarterback for Eastern Michigan.
Number 1, Rob Bolden, around left.
Pardon me, that's Rob Bolden into the game, the Penn State transfer. He was starting as a freshman for Joe Paterno at Penn State. Suffered a couple of injuries, including a concussion. And after the Penn State scandal and that open transfer opportunity, he left for LSU, where Les Miles eventually put him in as a wide receiver. So Bolden back on the field for the first time in a couple of years, and he throws a pick. Duke Dawson's going to take it back. I'd say Will Muschamp is happy with the play of his freshman secondary. 37-yard return for Dawson. And flags on the play, multiple. Vernon Hargraves happy.
Well, it looked like it started with Darius Cummings from his nose tackle spot, able to get penetration quickly, and that play was disrupted. They were bouncing off each other in the offensive backfield. And Rob Bolden with an ill-advised throw, of course. All of them are when they result in an interception for 6. Duke Dawson showing his ball skills, jumping all over the opportunity. You see Rob Bolden getting on the horn, realizing he should never let that football go.
After the play was over, personal foul, number 8 on Florida. The touchdown counts. 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Third takeaway for the Gators today. 14 points off the turnovers, including this pick 6.
You see there Cummings blowing up in the middle. And Alex McAllister able to finish off Bolden. Bolden throwing under duress off his back foot, falling backwards, and Duke Dawson flying up from his safety spot to take it the other way.
Not the debut that Rob Bolden was hoping for in an Eastern Michigan uniform. 51-0 here. Let's check in with Dari.
All right, gentlemen, just a little reminder. You see Nick Marshall, he will be making his first start of this season as Auburn at home again, taking on San Jose State. That game coming up, top of the hour, over on ESPN2. So Nick Marshall and Auburn against San Jose State. And, should be a good one there on the Plains. Tom and Stinch.
All right, Dari, thanks. Florida's hung half 100 on Eastern Michigan. And now it's Bolden's turn. He was a 4-star recruit at Orchard Lake St. Mary's Prep. He became the first Penn State freshman to start at quarterback in 100 years. That's since Shorty Miller did it in 1910, and Bolden came back and did it in 2010 for the legendary Joe Paterno. Transferred from Penn State to LSU, where, as I mentioned, he got work as a wide receiver. And one of the roadblocks in getting into game action thus far early in the season was a bit of a dead arm. He had been working as a wide receiver, so he wasn't throwing while in Baton Rouge. So when he came up to camp and he started throwing every day, that arm got sore real quick. So now it's getting the arm back healthy and strengthened and getting to know a new playbook.
That was something that the coaches touched on. You know, they were saying, look, he's new to this. He's new to our team from a chemistry standpoint and just a knowledge of what it is that they want to get accomplished offensively. This is a difficult position to be placed in late in the ball game versus an excellent defense, one that's long since been out of hand, non-competitive scenario from a scoring standpoint.
After the penalty, good chance for a return for Tyler Allen. He has shown flashes, and he takes it to the 43-yard line. The Good Hands field goal net. So All-State makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kick. Since 2005, All-State has contributed more than $3.4 million in scholarship funds. First game of the season for Florida. Bolden hands it off. Darius Jackson hit in the backfield. Gerald Willis, freshman up front with the stop for Florida. Well, it's just what DJ Durkin and Will Muschamp wanted defensively. The youngsters making plays in the secondary and rotating multiple guys in up front. I believe they played all 10 up front that they wanted to.
Caleb Brantley in there inside, number 57. We really like Gerald Willis and his ability to rush the passer. He's walking down Bolden.
Bolden with the slide stop, picks up a couple, and that will leave third down. There's DJ Durkin, third defensive coordinator in 4 years for Will Muschamp.
They love what they've got on that side of the ball. You know, they've got all the key components. You've got good communicators at the linebacking position. You've got guys that can rush the passer, an anchor versus the run game up front. And you've got an eraser, a defensive back in Vernon Hargraves, and maybe more as that secondary solidifies.
They've had a top 10 defense every year Muschamp has been here. Bolden goes down. Alex McAllister with the sack. Third of the day for the Gators. It's a loss of 5.
McAllister's another name that we heard frequently as guys to watch that are really emerging. You know, again, what they've done is they've flopped Lincoln Hansen over there on the right tackle position. Just opened up the game at left tackle. And this time McAllister able to get the better of them. These defensive ends have done a good job of getting extension in their pass rush. They keep these offensive linemen off of them, and they're able to get separation and get to the quarterback.
DeMarcus Robinson off the hop. Picks up a couple on the return. 51-0 here. Again, let's check in with Dari.
All right, guys, just keeping you up on what's going on around the SEC a little bit later. Dylan Thompson in South Carolina. How do they bounce back from the loss at home to Texas A&M? Well, we will find out top of the hour on ESPNU against a talented team from East Carolina. ECU and South Carolina, top of the hour, ESPNU, guys.
Yeah, that'll be a great game, Dari, and a great atmosphere in Columbia. How about that opening loss to Texas A&M? Well, the most points allowed to a Spurrier coach team. Previously, those three all won national titles, including 95 Nebraska and Tommy Frazier, which did it in essentially the national championship game. Trayon Harris now in a quarterback, and the running game continues to produce. He rips off 8. Does Brandon Powell. Harris is a freshman from Miami out of Booker T. Washington High School. 2-time 4A state champs.
I saw him last year in the season opener in high school. They were state champion, playing the state champion, high school state champion Norcross in the state of Georgia. And they blanked Norcross in the opener, scored over 50 points. Trayon Harris was pretty impressive, to say the least. At the time, he was headed to Tallahassee to play for the Seminoles. The Florida Gator coaching staff and grabbing him.
Well, he'll have a quarter to get some reps in and prove his worth in his first game in the Swamp. Gators all day. Time now for today's Aflac trivia question. You might see this broken this season. When was the last time Florida had a 1,000-yard receiver?
Ooh, that is tough. You talk about mining the archives, because it's been a while. I'm going to say it's Riley Cooper. He was pretty prolific receiver there.
He came close a couple times, didn't he?
I hope he got 1,000, more than close.
Harris, deep ball, first pass, complete. DeMarcus Robinson will take it the rest of the way. A 70-yard touchdown pass from the freshman Trayon Harris to DeMarcus Robinson.
There's a candidate.
That is how you start a career.
Yeah, that is. That's a grand slam first at bat, right? You just throw a home run ball right on the money. Talk about it. He's a pretty good high school ball player. It's a different animal now, though. Comfortable scenario to be inserted into, but Harris, they said the switch kind of flipped for him in camp. And he kind of got in front of Greer, who they thought was going to be the backup.
There's a reason backup quarterbacks are the most popular guys in the stadium.
Yeah, now they usually show up after you've got them nice and soft. Great job by DeMarcus Robinson, though. Not only tracking that ball, but staying alive after the catch. That's a strike. I don't know, you'd have to really nitpick to have an issue with this ball. He's been standing on the sideline for the bulk of this game. You come in and you unleash one of those. You put it right on his shoulder.
Florida receivers, by the way, did not have a good year last year as a whole. And especially these guys that they returned. So while we talked about this being a coming out party for the offense as a whole, you've got to be thrilled with the job that these Florida receivers have done making plays on the ball.
No question. You know, and that was one of the key things we asked Coach Roper when you got here, what is it you had to work on? And it's that complementary position, quarterback, receiver. There just wasn't that many balls in the air. This was a grounded offense in just about every sense of the word. And those receivers just didn't have a lot of time, not a lot of work. They needed reps, tons and tons of those. And you could see now some of the fruits. And that's even with the new passer, Trayon Harris, where DeMarcus Robinson, who's really had a nice second half, comes up with a big catch for 6.
Florida's sniffing 60 today. What a debut for this Gators offense. I want to talk about it this week on the Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays at 3 o'clock on the SEC Network. ESPN Radio's Paul Feinbaum shares compelling opinions on SEC football through a deep knowledge of the conference and interaction with passionate, we're calling them passionate callers, that have followed him for years. It's also live on Watch ESPN.
I'm still pondering this 1,000-yard receiver. Is it Chris Doring? How many guesses do I get on this thing?
We've got 14 minutes and 47 seconds remaining.
I bet I could cram in quite a few.
Bolden waiting for his blockers. They won't come in time, and he's brought down by 4 different Gators.
Chris Collinsworth?
You know, when you said you were going way back, that's where I was leaning. With the old school helmets.
Ricky Nattiel?
Bolden keeps it this time. Good read, trying to find the edge. He is a big quarterback. And he's brought down inbounds, so keep the clock running. Jabbar Gaffney.
I'm trying to think, you know, the Spurrier era, because they were slinging it all over the yard.
Jacquez Green, High Hilliard,
maybe. Oh, yeah, it's tough.
3rd and 2. Yeah, that was the fun and gun. What are we going to call Roper's offense? Bolden gets bumped from behind and incomplete. Will bring up 4th down.
That's true. Although I tell you, you look at those offenses that were fun and gun, and you break them down, they're about 50-50 run pass. Now, a lot of that's because they would pile up points in the first half and run it out in the second.
Yeah, they could score 59 times. Steve Spurrier's offense scored 40 points or more en route to 4 consecutive conference titles.
I'm sure there's some beat writers down here that are happy to make proposals for this offense.
Stun and gun.
The romp and chomp.
Well, not far from the swamp lies the house that Mitz built. That's the pitch where Heather Mitch became a legend. Presley Stadium here on the campus of the University of Florida, and our intrepid sideline reporter helped the Gators to a national championship before going on to international stardom. Not only an all-SEC performer, but one of only 3 women's soccer players to win 3 Olympic golds. How did she get stuck with us?
She's overqualified.
A lot of running in soccer and a lot of running for this Florida team today. And let's go check in with our All-American. Heather, campus has changed just a little bit since you were just here a brief minute ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I was here on the university campus, unfortunately, you guys. Way to rub it in, but I like the fact that you called me a legend.
I heard a rumor that you may be taking over and posing as Mrs. Two Bits here if we come back.
That is definitely a rumor. One I would actually like to live out because it would be a dream come true. He was a legend that was, you know, if you've attended a University of Florida football game, you knew who he was. He pumped up the crowd, and I hope to have the same opportunity.
This Florida athletic department has produced champions in a ton of different sports at various levels, but I don't know, and I just said that there aren't very many that can claim 3 gold medals.
It's unbelievable.
Especially not in women's soccer.
Yeah, we drop All-American, but behind that are 3 gold medals.
Yeah, only on the SEC network are you referred to first as,
that's right,
as an all-conference performer, and secondly as a gold medal winner.
Priorities are intense.
2nd and 6. He lets it go again, and Trayon Harris has had and found perfection. Mark Herndon does the rest of the work. 78 yards. Trayon for size, 2 for 2, 148 yards and 2 touchdowns in his Gator debut.
You know, maybe it's just us, because last week we had a running back in his debut for Kentucky, 2 rushes, 160 some odd yards and 2 touchdowns. Trayon Harris comes in here. That was Braylon Hurd. Trayon Harris comes out here and just lights it up, 2 for 2. How's that stat line?
I like to jot down some notes on my charts, and my scouting report on Trayon Harris says he is decisive and accurate with the ball.
Case in point. See Exhibit A right here. Oh, this is Exhibit B. Let's not forget the first touchdown pass.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom.
To the last 1,000-yard receiver for the Florida Gators. Taylor Jacobs had 1,000 in the regular season, 88 in their bowl game, and 8 touchdowns, catching passes from Rex Grossman in 2002.
Man.
All those names we mentioned, and it turns out, with all due respect, to be Taylor Jacobs.
Oh. Well, hey, congrats, Taylor. And now the whole goal of this offense is for that note to no longer be an answer worthy of remembering in that context.
He'll go on and play for the Redskins, a couple other teams at the next level. This is a solid return, out past the 45 by Juwan Lewis. Tonight, the SEC Network's full day of gridiron action concludes at 7:30 on the Bayou. The Bearcats of Sam Houston State go on to take on the Grass Eater and LSU. Lamar battles Texas A&M. Go to secnetwork.com/channel to find the channel number in your area. Games also available live on Watch ESPN. Kenny Trill bettered Johnny Manziel's career highs in his first start as an Aggie.
Pretty auspicious opening, when you think.
That's a great word.
I had enough time to look it up on my phone. Yeah, you know, when you look at those numbers, you wonder what he's going to be capable of doing over the course of the season. The way the Aggies offense dispatched the Gamecocks defense so readily, it's frightening to think if that proves to be a good defensive unit. And there's quite a bit of regrouping that needs to be done in Columbia. You know, how good is the A&M offensive arsenal with a guy who seems to run the offense the way it's intended to be run, as opposed to, you know, the innovator that Johnny Manziel was.
Keep in mind, you know, Manziel had a couple of years in that offense, and this guy did it start number 1.
Yeah, first rattle out of the trap. Let me go ahead and top the Heisman Trophy winner.
Third and 1. Rob Bolden with the bootleg, and he scrambles for a first down. Well, Rob Bolden saw just about everything in his time at Penn State. First for Joe Paterno, and then Bill O'Brien came aboard. Lost his starting job to Matt McGloin. Look at this. This is only the 5th play they'll run in Gator territory. And now gain 6-1. Ball came loose. Gators have it.
Yeah, it looked like, I think it's Caleb Brantley that caused it.
Daniel McMillan found it. 4th turnover of the game for Eastern Michigan.
Caleb Brantley came up with a fumble recovery in the first half, I believe, and here he just sticks that big left paw right on the football. Perfect time, and punched it right out. Right as we were mentioning, and this seems to be the story of the day for Eastern Michigan. They came in largely overmatched, but as soon as they got anything going, it'd be a turnover that would undo whatever momentum that they had. Finally getting to Gator territory, only to turn it over.
Couple of yards on the ground. We were talking earlier about this Eastern Michigan offense. They're kind of caught in between right now. They will be up tempo with a power running game right now because that's the personnel they had. You know, Ypsilanti, and specifically Rynearson Stadium, is just 6.7 miles away from the Big House. And Ron English and guys like Mike Hart, former Michigan running back, brought personnel in to run kind of that old school Michigan offense in terms of the power running game. Now things have changed, and you come in and start a new system with the old personnel. That's not easy.
Yeah, you can't just turn the program around that quickly. You know, you see oftentimes, like on the defensive side, oh, we're going to go from a 4-3 to a 3-4. You might not have the horses to do that.
But even then, that's only, you know, affecting 1 or 2 guys.
Chris Creighton here, he's sitting here saying, look, I'm going to have to try to coach with what I've got. I can't overhaul a roster in 1 year. That guy has won just about everywhere that he's coaching. He's coached everywhere, internationally. Had a lot of success at Drake. Now he's just trying to survive his way into a roster where they can start recruiting into the system that they want to ultimately run.
He's coached at NAIA, at Ottawa University, D3 at Wabash, and Drake in the Pioneer League without the benefit of scholarships. Wow, that is a boomer. Kyle Christie with a 60-yard punt, and that just jumped off of his foot. He hadn't had much work today, but Christie looking good even at the punter position.
College football playoff. New Year's will never be the same.
Well, the college football playoff is upon us. And these are the New Year's Eve Bowls and New Year's Day Bowls, semifinals in the Rose and the Sugar, and the national championship in Jerry World in 2015 once the calendar turns. All of those other bowls, the renamed Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Fiesta, Orange, and Cotton, will all have their turns to host both the semis and the national championship. We were talking before the game and what the playoff would have looked like in 2006 with that great Florida team. And remember, Ohio State and Michigan had that thriller at the end of the season, and Florida thought they were going to get frozen out of an opportunity to play for the national title. So if you were to seed those teams and use an undefeated Ohio State as number 1, they would have played LSU in one semi, and Florida would have been the 2 seed playing Michigan in the other semi. Would you have been fired up to watch that postseason?
Absolutely. I'll tell you who wouldn't be fired up is when it was a all SEC national title game, Florida versus LSU.
Well, hey, those Big Ten guys would have had their chance. I think that's the beauty of it. Bolden completes one to the outside, and that's good for a first down. You know, Ohio State and Michigan say we belong. Okay, well then you're going to have to take on the 4-seed LSU and knock them off, and Florida or Michigan, you're going to have to knock off the 2-seed Florida.
And the beauty of it is that more access is better, more football is better. Just not too much in the postseason. What they need to be careful about in this playoff is undercutting the regular season. But the significance of 06 was, as you mentioned, Bernie Matchett, the president of Florida, was the one that was proposing a playoff, not the one that was ultimately adopted. And his team ultimately ended up winning the national title.
We've got a national championship studio host. Let's check in with Dari.
Well, that's awfully kind of you, though I think I'd fall short of the Final Four, guys. Anthony Jennings and LSU. Anthony Jennings about to make home start #1. Neutral sites each of the last 2 starts for Jennings. LSU, Sam Houston State coming up. SEC Network.
Here the Bearcats. Bolden completes this one. And he has settled into a rhythm. That's Darius Jackson. 4 takeaways for the Gators defense today. And they're eyeing their largest margin of victory since they beat another MAC team soundly in 1997. Florida beat the Chippewas of Central Michigan 82-6.
You know, we can see out here today, this defense will be challenged a little bit more next week versus a Kentucky offense that seems to have found its footing with a little more depth and some playmaking ability.
Kentucky will need to get healthy. The Nebraska transfer Hurd. All right, so we are a week into the season, and Stinch already has his playoff pick.
Yeah, the season's over. Everybody else can just shut it down because we all know this is how it's going to shake out. You know, you look at them. I had to put Georgia at #4 so I didn't incite a riot inside the stadium here. I wanted to make sure that we could survive the exit. But when you look at Oregon, I think Oregon takes care of business versus Michigan State today. The first test that they have, and Michigan State probably the best representative from the Big Ten remaining after the injury to Braxton Miller. Just not used to that frenetic pace, not in the regular season. It's not like a bowl game.
Well, the Big Ten is suddenly in a precarious position because if Michigan State cannot pull off that win tonight, then essentially over the first 2 weeks of the season, you've had 2 perennial powers, Wisconsin and Michigan State, eliminated, we assume, eliminated from postseason contention. But even more so, that hurts. If you say Ohio State may go undefeated, which is probably a stretch, that hurts their strength of schedule, not just within conference play, but a conference title game playing a team that didn't win when they had the opportunity to.
No question. You know, a lot of folks have dismissed Ohio State. JT Barrett at the quarterback spot actually played pretty well in the opener. And if they were to be able to run the table, they get Michigan State in the regular season. You're right. Spartans go down on the road, a difficult place to play in Autzen Stadium. You know, what does that really mean now that they've finally been able to match up versus a Pac-12 opponent so early in the season? So fairly or not, the Big Ten season, from a national relevance standpoint and the playoff relevance, it may be completely compromised by week 3.
Darius Massline in the game at running back for Florida. And he tries to find the edge, gets tripped up and falls forward for a few. Some other notable games. That's a top 10 matchup between Michigan State and Oregon. ECU is in Columbia tonight on the U. Michigan and Notre Dame meet for the final time. And BYU tries to run all over Texas again. Texas lost both tackles this week. They're having some attrition issues out in Austin.
How about Steve Sarkisian at Southern Cal? I started to say USC, it's the SEC Network. They probably think it's South Carolina. Southern Cal played Stanford and was able to get a victory. They went no huddle. They're up tempo, running a ton of plays. Able to get a signature victory early in his tenure.
That up tempo produced 13 points today.
Yeah, a lot of plays, not a lot of points. And it's interesting too because, you know, the thought was Kevin Hogan was going to be able to be that steadying factor for Stanford. Obviously their defensive coordinator, now the head coach at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt having a real tough time versus Ole Miss today. Really tough start to the season for the Commodores. But they've had to retool their coaching staff. Southern Cal able to get the best of them.
Didn't know that the Pac-12 would be decided by defense this year, did you? Oh, that was another Eastern Michigan turnover. It happened on the punt. It's their 5th of the day, and it's recovered by Michael McNeely. There you go, Michael.
You know, all last year, the Gators were only able to generate 18 takeaways. We've got 5 already this season.
Michael McNeely with the special teams play. Gators back on offense after back to work for the freshman quarterback Trayon Harris, who has attempted 2 passes, thrown for 2 touchdowns and 148 yards on those tosses. Florida going primarily to the run game now. Interesting to talk with Kurt Roper about what they want to do out of this up-tempo offense, and that's run power football out of the shotgun.
And you can do that. You can do it without even a traditional fullback. You know, usually you see Florida 2 backs and a tight end. You call it 21 personnel. They're willing to do it, and they can do it with 3 wide receivers on the field. Look at that Duke offense. They have 3 wide receivers on the field 90% of the time. You can still run power football, downhill football, like Florida's used to doing out of that set.
The freshman quarterback's throwing a block, and there's a flag on the play. That may be the one mistake that he made today. They might call Trayon Harris back and say, hey, pal, you're too valuable to be out there putting your head into defenders.
Holding on the offense, number 25. 10-yard penalty, replay 2nd down.
See number 3, Harris, he realizes that this run's going to get bounced, so he says, I'll just turn into a lead blocker.
He lost his mouthpiece. He blocked so hard his mouthpiece came flying out.
Knocked his mouthpiece out. But I'll tell you what, you like that. I wonder if he even had his mouthpiece in. He's probably just sticking in his face mask. It's not often these quarterbacks expect to throw a lead block. Regardless, the fact that he was willing to do it, coaches might not like it, but his teammates love it. Love to see a quarterback willing to mix it up.
Darius Massline getting extended action today. He did not see any game action last year. And the walk-on gets carried again. And he gets submarined at the 23. Tune in Sunday at 10 p.m. as the SEC Network brings you a rewind of a classic conference matchup, Georgia versus South Carolina 2002. David Pollock and Georgia's D rose to the occasion and helped the Bulldogs to a win in their SEC opener against the Cox. It's also live on Watch ESPN. It's live. It's a rewind, but it's live.
They rewind it right there in front of you.
Right here. Yeah, the VHS tape is put in that little rewinder before they take it back to Blockbuster. And they play it.
No one at home knows what you're talking about. VHS or Blockbuster. What's crazy is there's 2 fumbles by the Georgia defense that preserved that victory even after the interception by Pollock.
That side thrown for a loss of a couple by Gary White Jr. In the SEC, seemingly those traditional offenses have gone the way of Blockbuster.
Yeah, they're toast. I mean, it really is. When we saw Alabama today open up the game, no huddle, up tempo, much quicker pace than what we've even seen here out of Florida, then you know that clearly everyone is headed to this.
DJ Durkin said that Muschamp has done a great job giving our defense power looks throughout the course of fall camp, even though our guys like to spread it. Nothing doing on the ground again, and Florida, the score sheet will say they turned it over on downs to end the game. But this offense was running at high efficiency all day.
Yeah, we've talked about it. They were able to string together a couple of drives. They were able to gut out a couple of conversions. Defense, of course, we've hit the offense pretty hard, but the defense did a good job. There was a couple of times where it seemed like the Eagles were getting something going on offense, only for the Gator defense to come up either with a big tackle for loss or generate a turnover. And you can see there that will show up pretty nicely in their box score, allowing only 121 yards to 655 by their offense. An explosive day. They got some big plays, not only out of the running back position, but in their passing game as well.
Driscoll finished the day with a quarterback rating of 122.5. Trayon Harris, a freshman, showed some audacious numbers. His quarterback rating, 2 for 2, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 1,051.6. That's probably going to come down.
There's nowhere to go but down, I'm afraid.
So will Florida's scoring average most likely, but the new look offense buffeted by a standout defensive effort. Driscoll and company hang 65 on Eastern Michigan, holding the Eagles scoreless. When the day started, Florida was just happy to get on the field and take some snaps. By the end of it, they've got to be raving about what this offense was able to produce out of the gate. I mean, first game, and they put this up and look efficient.
You can see the difference immediately. They come out of the field, they take possession, they're throwing the football on first down. That alone says there's a new era here in offensive football, maybe a return of old to what they're used to seeing on the offensive side of the ball. And you complement that with playmakers like Dante Fowler and others, that's a deadly combination.
Heather standing by with Will Muschamp.
Coach, offensively, you're firing on all cylinders. You're talking about having a balanced offense. Was this the offense you're looking for today?
Well, we were balanced. We were able to run it for the most part. We hit some big plays. We had a couple drops, which was disappointing, but I thought Jeff really administered our offense very well. Really pleased with that production and on the defensive side of the ball.
18 takeaways total last year, 5 today. What can you say about your defense?
Well, just got to keep going. It's a long season. It's one game. It's, you know, and we'll play better in this bunch. So we just need to continue to improve.
Playing against Kentucky next week, what still needs to improve?
Well, we got a lot of things. Looking at the tape, we lost Jake McGee there probably for the season. It's disappointing because he's a really good football player and a great young man. But a couple guys banged up. Everybody else should be okay. But we'll go back, watch the tape. It's the first step to Atlanta, and it starts with Kentucky. And Mark and them are a much improved football team.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Not just much improved, but a great offensive team. It'll be a high-scoring affair when the Wildcats come to town. Tough news about Jake McGee. Tough loss for the program and for that young man. Our final, Florida 65, Eastern Michigan nothing. Coming up next, Dari's in the studio for SEC Now.